The Cool Politics Café series was born out of a simple but powerful idea that democracy is strengthened when we can speak to and not past one another. It is a space designed to spark honest, inclusive conversations about issues that divide us, but also about common ground that can bring us together. Each dialogue seeks to move beyond headlines and hashtags, and instead we are choosing to intentionally listen, learn, and imagine practical ways of building bridges across many differences.
We started our Cool Politics Cafes in 2015, so quite a while ago, 10 years ago actually. So it's really nice for us to be able to relaunch, if you will, this kind of engagement, an engagement focus in particular on listening and debating and providing a platform also for more youthful voices within our sector. An important platform for us also to learn and to not just listen but also have new ideas provided to the organization, if you will, also on real needs from society, in particular from a more youthful society.
31 years into our democracy as South Africans, issues of polarization has never been something that is new to our country. It's things that we have battled with over the years, right? But 31 years over, thinking that at this point in our democracy, we should see progress. There are certain things that we are not expecting to still be saying. We are here with the promise of a rainbow nation, united in our diversity. It's who we pride ourselves as, it's who we sell ourselves to the rest of the world as. But internally, we know how issues of polarization have increased. So we are here to learn from one another.
I thought I should just give the overlay of where we are in South Africa today. So my take is that South Africa is at its most unstable condition today than it ever was since 1994. The platform that was created by painful struggle, which resulted in the deaths of very many people, long prison terms, denial of opportunities by the state, has not produced the results that were expected 31 years later. So there is political disengagement as we talk here by the public. So even before you get to polarization, you are talking about disengagement. We are going to go. We are in the departure lounge, even as we have caused this mess, and you will be left with this country to run. You can hardly afford not to be interested in it, in politics. Overall then, polarization, which we're going to talk about here, happened because of the failure of governance. It's a consequence of the placement of people who have no interest whatsoever in serving the people, but who see an opportunity in politics to advance their own interests.
Obviously, the polarization that we're seeing in South Africa is not unique to South Africa. And I know that we like to have an exceptional view of ourselves, but this is happening around the world. And I think particularly with Y20 and this being part of Y20 is timeless because young people across the world are going to inherit democracies that have economic fissures, real societal issues, and are going to be societies that are struggling to hold a real center middle ground to still have these conversations. And I think at this point it's important to say that when we're talking about polarization, we're not talking about people that are just arguing with each other because they disagree. We're talking about people that have decided that anyone who has a differing opinion is an enemy. Of course, people are angry, particularly young people. We were sold a dream by the older generation that if we did, great work and school and everything, we would inherit a South Africa that would allow us to pursue our dreams. Instead, what we've seen is the political elite and their children really rising up at the expense of the rest of us who are doing all of that in all of our communities, but not getting the same gains. And so that makes us angry. So that's one part that we polarized on. Then, of course, is the political. And in this country, and speaking as someone who's a former politician, not that I did this, but it's very easy to polarize people in political terms to make it about us and the other.
If teachers are forced to retire at the age of 60 to 65, and in every other industry in this country, you have to retire, you cannot be there until you're 70 or 80, why should you still be in government at the age of 76 or at the age of 77? I don't think that's necessary anymore. And that's the only real reason I think we have some of the issues that we have currently around polarization, around a lot of people breaking away from larger political parties to form smaller parties that never really address anything tangible, instead of pointing out what the party that they broke away from is not doing. So the older generation has done their part. You've gotten us out of apartheid, in terms of apartheid that is constitutionalized. Well, now they can take the step back and actually allow for the younger generation to be in office.
First polarization in this country is economic, and whether we like it or not, and again I say, I'm surprised you guys haven't mentioned it. You think you are in the waiting room, I am heading there. But we've got to remind ourselves over and over again, what was the success of the South African story? One of the successes was we were able to create the notion of a state. We fought a system that tried to divide us on tribal lines, even geographically.
And we need to celebrate diversity, because with diversity we can divide. And it is time that we appreciate all our uniqueness and unite.
So I came here frightened by this constant question that I've been asking myself, that 31 years later, how did we get here? The second thing is, I'm actually even more frightened, wondering where are we going to be in the next 31 years. I'm afraid we're running out of time.
A lot of data points out to the fact that young South Africans between the ages of 30 and 35 are now flirting with the military. They're now flirting with the idea of a military takeover. And so what this then means is that, and it goes back to the question around democracy that my friend Thembile Mbete always asks, that can democracy feed us and keep us safe? And if we aren't paying attention to what's happening at the moment in South Africa, but also what is happening in the Sahel, one day we're going to wake up in the next 30 years and we're going to have a military takeover, and we are going to act surprised. And we must get over this South African exceptionalism to think that certain things won't happen to us.
Are we at the tip of a southern spring? And I raised that being mindful of the fact that, in 2011, that young man in Tunisia, Mohamed Bouazizi, who set himself on fire as an act of protest, but didn't know that that act of protest would spark what we now study as the Arab Spring. We would see the toppling of the Egyptian government and so on. We certainly see what's happening in Kenya, Tanzania, and so on. We know what's happening in Eswatini, and we pretend like we don't know, right? And some of the silencing and protesting of human rights defenders and so on. So given some of these social movements we are seeing in the continent, are we at the tip of a southern spring? And if we are, what do we do about it?
I want to thank everybody for your contribution, and we're looking forward to the remainder or the upcoming Cool Politics Cafes, which we are going to be hosting quite regularly, we hope. So please follow our website, democracyworksfoundation.org.